there were these tryouts to do the Stations of the Cross at my church, and there was the lead Jesus, so I didn't really want to do it, but my sister held up my hand. Then I kind of got forced into it when I didn't want to do it, but it turned into something good because I did a good job and I enjoyed it. I may do it again in the future.
Well, this year I tried out for the basketball team, and I didn't make it, so I tried doing the play, and I really loved it, and I got a pretty big role, and it was lots of fun, and now I'm doing a summer camp on theater this summer. I guess it was good that I didn't make the basketball team.
Nick, that's my little brother. Isn't he cute?
Yeah.
Most of us have had the experience of driving somewhere and seeing a detour sign that took us off course.
This is often an inconvenience and adds extra time to our trip, time that we may not have anticipated or accounted for.
In these detours, we don't usually see a benefit as to why we were taken off course, or see any blessings in the added time or difficulty in getting to our destination.
As we try to follow the plans we've made in life, we sometimes encounter detours that pull us off our original path.
Sometimes these detours are short and bring us back to our path quickly.
Sometimes these detours turn into a completely new path that we stay on.
Having a strong relationship with God through prayer and the sacraments can help us to stay grounded in the path that He has paved for us.
Even if it's different than the path we were expecting.
Unexpected detours, that's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Ella.
And I'm Nick.
And this is Real Faith TV.
First, we'd like to thank the two youth groups that helped us open today's show.
My youth group, St. Rose of Lima Church in Freehold, and St. Thomas More Youth Group in Manalapan, New Jersey.
And for sharing some of the unexpected detours that they experienced.
We'll meet a few members of both youth groups throughout the show as our wildcard guests.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Megan, who had moved with her family to another country prior to her senior year of high school.
Let's hear about this major detour and how it forced her to make some big changes in her life.
The most prominent detour that I faced in my life was my move to Europe. When I was a junior in high school, I found out that I was moving to Switzerland. And I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I've lived here all my life. I've had the same friends. I begged and I pleaded and asked my parents if I could stay for my senior year. Some of the biggest hurdles and challenges I faced, besides starting over at a new school with new friends, were simple things like language barriers. They spoke German where I lived. Going to the grocery store was an overwhelming experience. Ordering food was an overwhelming experience. Talking to people was an overwhelming experience. So having it all happen at once was just so difficult to process. It was a complete change in lifestyle. When I first moved there, I thought, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. A particular incident that I've grown through, I would say, was a breakup with my boyfriend that I had. Right after I had moved to Switzerland, he broke up with me, and we had been dating for almost 2 years. And that was the biggest heartbreak I've ever experienced, but it really opened my heart to just immersing myself in new culture and allowing my heart to be open to other people and experiences. I remember when I moved, my parents said, I know that this is what we're doing, but if you ever feel like you want to go back to the U.S. to visit people, we'll send you there for a week. We want you to keep in touch with your friends and your family over there. The most significant turning point for me, I think, was when I came back to the United States for Christmas, 6 months after I had moved to Switzerland, and I found myself missing my friends in Switzerland and wanting to go back there to see them. And it made me realize how much I had to be thankful for. I had traveled to so many different countries, and I was amazed at all that I had been taking for granted before.
You know, Nick, Megan has actually gone to my church my whole life, and I didn't actually get to know her until I got to interview her. And if she and her family didn't move to Switzerland, my mom would have become the youth minister, and I can't even imagine what my life would be like without youth group.
Wow, it's crazy how you never know where you're gonna end up, you know?
Yeah, right?
Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are
John,
Mike,
Sarah,
Bella,
Emily,
Leanie.
and Julia. So, have you guys experienced a detour in your life?
This summer, my family, we went to Cape Cod,
with a good family friend of ours, and we were going to all wake up early and drive up there so that we can have the whole day there. And I remember my dad coming into my room at about like 4 o'clock in the morning and shutting off my alarm. And so I was like, okay, and I went back to sleep, and I woke up and I was like, so like, why did we change the plan? And he said, your grandfather had a heart attack last night and had to be airlifted to the hospital, and it kind of just put a damper on our whole vacation.
I can definitely relate to you. My birthday was like a couple weeks ago, and I was gonna have friends and family over, and we get a call from Seattle saying that one of my cousins has passed away. We don't know really how or why, just that he's gone now, and my dad had to go out. It was like heartbreaking for me.
Actually, about a year ago, I took an unexpected detour because I personally had been going through a lot of struggles, and it had just gotten to the point where I couldn't handle them by myself. So I decided that I would get professional help from people. So I went into this hospital where they were helping other people with a similar issue, and it wasn't my ideal place to be, but it ended up working out really well for me because I learned that I love helping other people, because all I did while I was there, besides helping myself, was trying to help others. And without that place, I wouldn't have learned that what I want to do with my life is music therapy. And I'm very grateful for going there.
Thanks so much for opening up like that, Sarah.
Sometimes our detours may seem like an inconvenience, but instead making our day much better.
Other detours can really turn us upside down.
Like when you get a flat tire on the way home from school.
Or when you're supposed to go to the movies with your friend, but he or she cancels at the last minute.
Either way, through daily prayer and trying to stay open to life in and around us, we can ask God to help us to be open to whatever we have to face.
And give us the courage and confidence we need to navigate the more difficult detours we encounter.
In fact, our first wildcard guest, Matt, a St. Thomas More Youth Group member in Manalapan, New Jersey, talks about this.
Let us hear about his life aspirations and how he looks to God for any change in direction.
I'm 16 years old right now, and there are a couple of things that I'm thinking about becoming. I'm either going to be a marine biologist, an environmental scientist, or I'm thinking about going to the priesthood. I'm trusting that God will help me through my path of life and give me the best decision of my future.
God does have a plan for us, a plan that he made us for.
But he doesn't control us like a puppet master.
He gave us free will, so we can ultimately decide which path to follow.
But sometimes it isn't clear which path to follow because of the detours we are faced with.
But one of the wonderful things about God is he always provides little trails that lead us back to the path he has set for us.
All we have to do is pay attention and be open to his presence in our life.
Yeah, that makes it sound so easy. But this can end up being really challenging for most of us to figure out.
Like the detour Megan faced when returning to the United States to work for summer.
Next, she tells us about the personal crisis she faced when she got to the airport to return to Europe and her family.
Let's hear her now.
2 summers after I had moved, I came back to the US and I worked here. And at the end of the summer, I had a breakdown and I thought, I'm not supposed to go back to Europe. I'm not supposed to be there anymore. I was actually at the airport on my way back and I couldn't get on the plane. I called my mom and I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't do this. I don't know where I belong. It feels like I have 2 different lives and I just don't know where I fit in. So I started seeing a counselor who helped me work through the issues that I was feeling internally and externally. So I ended up staying in America for 3 months. I was out of school, I wasn't working, I was just trying to figure out where I belonged. No matter how much I miss the people here, I miss the experiences that other people are having without me in America, I'm supposed to be there. Even though I'd kind of second-guessed it, it was really what I was supposed to be doing. My first sense of connection, I actually remember it really vividly, was I had been talking on and off with somebody, and I remember when I came back, I started talking to him more and spending more time with him, and he made it feel like home for me, and it was unbelievable, and I had never experienced something like that before, and I thank God for it now, because if I had given up, if I had stayed in New Jersey, if my parents had let me, I wouldn't have this amazing relationship with this amazing person. I can't imagine my life without this person or without these experiences.
Have you guys ever had a wake-up call from God, and how did you deal with it?
I remember I was having a rough time in school, and I was kind of just sad and down about myself, and I didn't see any happiness or joy in the world. And I remember my sister talked to me, and she kind of opened me up to seeing that, you should see the joys in life, celebrate life, and go on and do things. You may not have everyone you want there, but try new things and, carry on. And I think it was through my sister that God told me, keep going, things are all right.
Well, I'm definitely envious of the fact that you have the ability to listen to someone that's trying to help you. I feel like my major detour in life is that when something gets hard, I normally just cut off all emotion and feel numb, and I try to avoid feeling anything, and I even cut off from my faith.
I had a wake-up call recently. I had a dream that I moved to a different state with my friend who wants to go to California someday. And I was doing it to make her happy, to stay friends with her, because I was worried that if I didn't go, she was just going to cut me off. So then that was kind of a wake-up call for me. I realized that I really was doing things to make my friends happy, and I really wasn't caring about my own happiness. So over the summer, I've been paying more attention to what makes me happy.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Next, let's go to our wild card guest, Rosie, with the St. Rose of Lima youth group.
She will share with us a major detour that she has experienced.
Let's hear her story.
A detour in my life that turned very positive was when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was 8 years old and I was very scared. I swore it was going to ruin my life, but in the end, it made me very responsible and very mature. At this time in my life, I really leaned on my church and my faith to get me through it.
Sometimes the detours that we face are life-changing.
Maybe you've played soccer for years and you get an injury that will keep you from playing again.
Perhaps you don't get accepted into your dream school.
Or someone you love is diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Oftentimes, these things may feel less like detours and more like dead ends.
It's easy for us to despair and feel like God has left us.
But seeking God in the midst of pain and trial will guide us to new answers.
When Jesus appeared to Saul, he was on his road to Damascus and was persecuting Christians.
Jesus knocked him off his horse, and Saul became blind for 3 days.
Jesus told Saul to go into the city of Damascus in order to be told what to do next.
And Saul had to rely on others to guide him. He couldn't even see where he was going.
Saul became St. Paul and went from persecuting the Christians, becoming known as the greatest Christian missionary of all time.
Talk about your life taking an unexpected detour.
Next, our spotlight guest, Megan, shares with us the importance of prayer during her struggles.
And how her relationship with God changed throughout the unexpected detours she faced.
Prayer was one of the most important parts of the struggle for me. I love to pray and I love to praise God through song and through service. I would pray for healing. I would pray for God to speak through me. I would pray for God to sing through me, to help me understand what was happening, why it was happening. My relationship with God changed through these experiences by maturing with me. I felt when I was 17 that I was still living my faith a lot through my parents. I'd always gone to church with them. I'd always praised God with them. I'd always prayed with them. And I really found my own relationship with God separate from my parents, separate from my friends, separate from family friends. I really matured in my personal relationship with God. I was able to trust in Christ, just remembering that He gave me this life for a reason and that I'm supposed to do something with it. And if I'm moving to another country, or if I'm going to a college that I wasn't expecting to go to, or if I'm dating someone I never thought that I would in my life, God has given me that person, those experiences, this life, and I always try to remember that I keep God in the center of all this and how I know that He is the center of all of this.
How has your faith in God helped you to deal in times of struggle or tragedy?
I think I've always used God as someone to talk to. If I was afraid, someone's going to judge me for it, or they were going to think, badly of me for, wanting to do something or being down or something, just go to God, He's always there to listen, any time of day, always there, and He'll never judge you, He'll always love you. And it's one of the reasons why I love, having God in my life.
I agree completely. I know that whenever I have a major decision coming up, or when something goes wrong unexpectedly, I can always turn to prayer and I can turn to God and ask Him, why is this happening? What'll this do to my life? And what should I do next? And He gives me the guidance to figure out where to take it.
Reminds me of when the whole death in my family happened recently with my cousin. Prayed every night for him and his family. He was a father. He had so many good qualities about him. He's always by my heart, and I can just feel like I can pray to Him and God and everybody saying that He's good, He's happy in heaven.
For me personally, faith has not only helped me with struggles, but I use my faith to help others, because when I'm going through something, I'll pray, I'll be like, Lord, please guide me through this. I have no idea what I'm doing, but You do, so help me. And then if a friend is going through a struggle, I'll just be like, I'll either tell them, hey, pray to God and He'll help you, He's helped me, or I'll have God work through me to help them if they need a shoulder to lean on, someone to listen, or even just for you to call them and talk to them. I let God work through me, and faith has helped me. Without that, I wouldn't be the person I am.
It's amazing that you can help people, because I know when my grandmother died, I forced myself not to cry, and I tried to be alone so that no one else could make me cry. But then we went up to New York where the funeral was, and then I was with all my cousins and my big cousins. And then I saw him crying, and I just felt comfortable being around there and being at the service, and I felt comfortable with my emotions.
That's good to feel comfortable with your emotions, because it's hard with people sometimes, but I'm glad you're at peace with that.
Yeah.
As faithful Christians, we must seek God always and in every situation.
Even in the everyday, trivial situations that we may stress over or think we can manage ourselves.
Our next wildcard guest is Kat, who will share how her faith in God redirected her plans when choosing a university to attend.
A few months ago, I started applying to different universities, and I started declaring different majors, and I was all scatterbrained. I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I thought I was gonna fit a certain mold or a certain school, and as soon as I went there, I'd be really happy. But then I realized God wanted me to go to a Catholic university so that way I could remain involved with campus ministry and meet people who shared my faith and were more like-minded. So I'm really happy with the choice I made, and I'm happy after months and months of stressing that it finally came together.
How can we help others who are still dealing with their detours?
I have one friend who just recently had an attempted suicide, and I talked to her a lot about it, and she said that was the only possibility I saw at the time. So I really wanted to help her see, how there are multiple doors and it's not a dead end, and there's so many things you could do than the worst.
I had a similar experience. Instead of, what I do to help people struggling is my friend was hurting herself, self-harm, and instead of showing sympathy, I showed empathy, and I hurt with her instead of, feeling sorry for her, just showing people you're on the same level with them. That's how I help people.
I think it's also good to show them that they're not alone
Right.
in it, that, there's always someone there.
Yeah.
Even if you think no one's there for you, there is.
Right.
Someone is.
I think being the light kind of helps too, because I'm very positive, and I've been blessed that nothing God forbid, bad has happened to me so far. Like no tragedies in my family, no deaths, no conflicts with myself. So when I see others who are struggling with that, like I just try to be positive for them and like give them a source of just happiness and fun, like an escape sort of.
I mean, it really isn't always that easy because I know I've had a friend that did self-harm, and when we couldn't communicate, like I would be like, oh, look to God, try to pray on it. She'd be like, no thanks. I'd be like, okay. And sometimes when you come to a detour, you either follow it or you turn around and go home, and I just sort of left her, and I feel awful about it.
Well, to add on to your statement, I have a half-sister, and she just keeps going back to her problems, and she kind of ignores the fact that there are people here for her and that we don't want her to leave us or hurt herself. But sometimes you just have to accept that people don't want help and that they just need some time and space to get over their problems, and that when they want you, they'll come back.
Right.
Yeah. They may not be ready in their phase of the journey.
It takes time,
But you always just have to be ready because you never know when they may come to a point and say, they're at their lowest point, and you come along and say,
I'm still here.
How's it going?
Yeah.
I'm still around if you want any help.
Yeah.
And they might say, you know what? Yeah, I'll take you up on it this time.
Yeah. Open arms,
Sorry.
Yep.
Going off of what you said, what I believe a person has to do is that they have to be there for the person, but at the same time, they have to let the person be there for themselves and learn that you always have to keep going in life. You can't just stop and just say, and if you do stop, you have to keep going at some point.
Take a look, but then keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah, some people need their space. Yeah.
Finally, our spotlight guest Megan discusses how experiencing difficulty through unexpected detours shapes our perspective and allows us to see things in new ways.
She also gives us some advice when we feel like we're at crossroads and looking for a new direction.
I can't imagine what my life would be like if these difficulties hadn't happened. They've changed me for the better just by experiencing new things. Growing in my faith was one of the most important things that happened. The hardships that you face really make your faith stronger. I think it's really easy to be grateful for the things that you have when everything's great. But when you face difficulties, it's really important to have God there. God was always there for me, and I would pray and I would listen and I would just reflect, and that was the most important thing that helped me grow spiritually. One of the most important pieces of advice that I could give is to trust your parents and to trust God. It's never as bad as you think it is. It's always going to get better. If you believe that God has a plan for you, it's never, ever going to be as bad as you think it is.
That's really awesome that she has such a positive outlook, because I know I don't on most situations. I'm normally the negative person in the situation.
And it's certainly easier to see the negative side of things, and it's like, it really is a struggle to see, like, okay, how is there a gift in this burden that I have?
Right. I wear my bracelet, it says spread good vibes, positive purpose. So it gives me a little reminder, but she said, like, even the hardships define us. So you got to live through the hardships and you're a better person because of it.
Yeah, sorry. When I was going through everything that happened to me, my best friend actually wrote me a song about it because he knew how much that meant to me. We're both very musical people.
That's
and it was very cute. And he knew that I needed a reminder all the time that he was there for me. And the song was called Don't Give Up. And I always write that on myself because I always need a reminder.
Just a little reminder.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
I think Megan's kind of inspirational for what she's doing, because I know that if that was my parents, I would be like, I'm living with my grandma.
No way am I going to Switzerland.
Most definitely.
And I asked her, when she moved there, she did not know whatever language they speak over there at all. German, yeah. She's finally starting to learn little bits, but she's still, it's not like she's comfortable, but now she's actually living in Ireland. So it's a little bit easier with the whole English thing going on.
Good.
Even though a detour may look like it's bad and absolutely nothing good can come from it, just because nothing good's coming from it at the time being doesn't mean that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a few months, a few years down the line, something that you learned or experienced then could have an impact on your life later on.
These things take time, you know?
Yep.
When facing difficulty, we can find strength in words of 20th century saint Edith Stein, a convert to Roman Catholicism who was martyred at Auschwitz concentration camp in 1942.
She said, "What did not lie in my plan lay in God's plan."
And the more often something like this happens to me,
the livelier becomes the conviction of my faith that, from God's perspective, nothing is accidental.
God doesn't show us the entire path of our life at once. He asks that we trust Him, even when we can't see what's ahead of us.
How do you trust in God when encountering an unexpected detour?
We'd love to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or send us a tweet.
And we'll leave you today with part of this prayer from Thomas Merton.
My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me.
I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you.
And I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing.
I hope that I never do anything apart from that desire.
Therefore, I will always trust you, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death.
I will not fear, for you are always with me.
And you will never leave me to face my perils alone.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV. God bless.